really have to stop thinking about our job as something just to pay bills, right? Because that's what we generally. And so we are learning more and more about how to manage money. Love that book.
Welcome. No, God is so good. Things will change your life. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Mastering Money Mondays. I am Mr. Green. I am a financial freedom fighter. Make sure I'm going to say that. Financial freedom fighter, first and foremost. A project manager, retirement plan manager, as well as an entrepreneur and investor.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cynthia Pete. I am a IT project manager by day. I am a real estate investor. I am also a private money lender. And just like Lonzie, I am a financial freedom fighter.
That's what's happening. So why do we have this podcast? Why do we have Mastering Money Mondays? It's really simple. We've been taught how to make money, okay? Meaning go get your education, get a job, working, go up the corporate ladder. We've been taught how to manage money, okay? Whether that means put money in a savings account, a checking account, your 401k, setting it and forgetting it. However, we have not been taught how to master money, which is multiplying the same dollar over and over and over and over again. So episode 12, we're going to be talking about your job. Your job is your input, not your end point. So Cynthia, when we say your job is not your input, it's your input, but not your end point, what do we mean by that?
Yeah, Lonzie. So what we mean is we've been taught to go to school, go to college, get a degree, and then get a job. And that's basically the end, right? A lot of us don't get any more education. We don't work a second job. We don't do anything. That job is the end point, right? And so what we're telling you is there is a purpose for your life and what you do. And so your job has to be an input, not the end point. Like I know personally for me, my job was the end point. So it was up here. My purpose floated somewhere down here. I might be working on it depending on how demanding the job is. But we really have to make a shift to where our purpose is here. And then our job is an end point into our purpose.
Very good. Yeah, I would have to say I've fallen prey to that as well, where the job becomes the identity, right? And then we also are in the habit of when people ask who are we immediately go into what we do.
Yes.
Right. So, but we're much more than just a job, right? We've been put here on this planet for a purpose, and it is being able to utilize our gifts in a way that is able to advance, whether you call it the kingdom, whether you call it the universe, right? And so I like the point that you made about utilizing the job to serve as the input source to get you to the end point. And I think that's great because that's what mastering money is all about, because money is a tool. It is a resource, but how do you use that resource in order to be able to serve in a way that is in alignment with your purpose? So that's what we're talking about. So let me ask you this. Do you have an example of how you can use your job as an input to serve towards your endpoint?
Absolutely. So I think, for me, like I believe we were created in the image of God. And I believe this when he knitted us in our mother's womb, he gave us certain personality traits, skills, certain gifts, right? That all include our purpose, right? I believe your job is a training ground to sharpen those skills, right? So this shouldn't make you the worst employee. This should make you the best employee because you are on the training ground to sharpen your skills as an input to your purpose to ultimately fulfill your purpose, right? So for me, I tend to be detail oriented. I like structure. I like building things, which is why I didn't even choose to go into IT. My mother was like, no, you're going to my mother chose it because she knew her child, right? She's like, no, marketing
Okay.
is not you. IT is you, you know. And so but that's the way God created me, right? And so I use that. I can still use that for my greater purpose, serving in nonprofits, serving at church, serving in the community. But this job gives me a training ground to sharpen those skills and challenge me both in the skill level and on the personal level.
Man, I think that is so superb, and I'm glad that you mentioned that because similar story. And I didn't quite look at it like that until I just heard you talking about it in that moment. But so, just to give a little bit background, I ran a nonprofit organization for about 10 years. And one of the things that I had to do, I was boots on the ground. And so I would go to various areas, specifically apartment complexes, right? And I would have to present my organization to them. And I make mention of that because being able to learn about PowerPoint and how to put together a presentation, how to articulate a message were all things that I learned in my job. And because I learned those things and was able to do those repetitively, I was able to craft it into a skill set. And I truly believe that if I didn't have that skill set, I would not have been able to close those deals with those managers at those apartment complexes. If I wasn't able to close those deals, then we would not have been able to serve thousands of meals to children. And if anybody knows, food security insecurity is a huge issue. So to be able to serve in that capacity through the nonprofit was phenomenal, but it backs into what you were saying. I would not have known how to put together a presentation. I would not have known how to speak if it wasn't for the job. So using that job and the skills that I learned on that job to serve a greater purpose. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. That was right on. So you all think about, and how and what are you learning on your job, right? That is helping you to be able to extend your purpose or be able to step in or lean into your purpose. So reflect on that, think about that, and start utilizing that. And I would think, Cynthia, and I want to hear your take on that, that when you start reflecting and you start thinking about those things, you going into your job probably looks and feels a lot differently at that point, right? Yeah, yeah.
Um, oh, I was just going to add, guys, we really have to stop thinking about our job as something just to pay bills, right? Because that's what we generate. Well, I have a job because I need to pay bills and I need to, buy this car, buy the things that I like. Yes, it is for that, right? Yes, I'm not telling you not to buy things or not to, enjoy life because I love traveling. So it's definitely for that. But just remember, like, how are you leveraging this job as an input into your life? Inputs mean your children, your spouse, your purpose. All of these are inputs. And so a lot of times the job is the end all be all. And we just need to shift our view of it just a little bit.
Yeah. So think about that today. Think about what your end point is, because some of us really do not know because we haven't taken the time to think about it because we have been pouring so much into our job that we lose who we are. So think about what your endpoint is. And then once you establish that, and do that, whether it's through prayer, meditation, whatever the case may be, once you establish that, back into that, and then be more present in your job and determine how you can utilize the relationships, the skills that you're learning on your job to align with your endpoint. So with that being said, Cynthia, I'm gonna turn it over to you so you can go and close us on out.
Okay, I have one more point.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Also, I just also want to mention, baby boomers and Gen X are the generations that, worked one job and retired, right?
Right.
Not even so much Gen X, with layoffs and everything, but millennials and Gen Zs, like, you definitely don't even have the mindset to to work one job until you retire. Nor do I think that is the future, with layoffs and everything. So your job can't be your endpoint. You have to step outside of your job and figure out the blueprint and the framework for that you want for your life, absent of your job.
Right.
And then once you know that, like you said, you need to back into the job and figure out how it fits into how it becomes an input and what that looks like into your framework for your life and your destination.
Right, right. Very good, very good. So I'm going to close us out with that being said. I think this, and it all ties back into mastering money because,
Yes,
to your point, Cynthia, when you have an endpoint, when you have a destination, then you start looking at the tool and the resource of money differently because now you start thinking about what can I do with what it is that I have to get me to the destination that I want to get to, right?
absolutely.
So thank you all for joining us for another episode of Mastering Money Mondays. Be sure to like and subscribe. Tell your mama and them. But until next time, we will see you soon. Take care.
Bye
God bless.
bye.